Hello and welcome to Homework Hotline. I'm Craig Gross, and I'm here to remind you that Homework Hotline is your show, and we're here to help you with your homework questions, okay, be it in mathematics, English, social studies, or science. Now, today on the program, I'm going to be working with some word problems, and I'm also going to do some inequality problems. Let's see what Wilfred has for us today.
And today, Mr. Gross, I'll be doing an algebra problem factoring polynomials and also a geometry problem and, time permitting, a calculus problem also. Now we're going to get started in just about a minute, but first, here's one of my teaching partners, Angela Hewlett-Block, to fill us in on our live calls. Angela.
Thank you, Wilfred. Indeed, I am Angela Hewlett-Block, and just listen to these phones. Your calls are important to us, and we're here to help. As you can hear, the phones are very busy right now, so if you're having trouble getting through, please be patient. If you have an English question, call, please, and ask for me. Maybe we can do your question live on the air. English comes on today at 5 o'clock, so stay tuned now for 30 minutes of math with Wilfred and Craig.
Thank you very much, Angela. Now remember, you can get your homework questions answered simply by calling 1-800-527-8839 or just by dialing 1-800-LA-STUDY. Now remember, if you need any help whatsoever, whether it is in just basic math or advanced calculus, call 1-800-LA-STUDY. The call is free, the help is free. So what are you waiting for? And now here's Craig.
Thank you, Wilfred. Now, I understand I have a caller on the line. Hello, is the caller there?
Yes.
And what is your name, miss?
My name is Brittany Lawless.
And Brittany, where do you go to school?
Lassen.
Lassen Elementary, I understand.
Yes.
Okay, that's a fine institute. Where exactly is that?
It's on, wait.
What, okay, don't go running out to the street to go
No,
check. That's
it's
okay.
on Superior Street.
But that's okay. That's right. It's in where now? I'm sorry?
Superior Street.
Okay, outstanding, outstanding. Okay, well, Brittany, would you like to help me out with a couple of problems?
Sure.
All right, then. Here we go. Okay, you called in and you said you had these couple of problems, that there's word problems that you were doing, right?
Yes.
Okay. Would you, with your greatest Shakespearean voice, please read the following word problem? I wrote up here on the board.
Okay. The record speed for a car is 1,001 kilometers per hour.
Outstanding. Go right ahead.
The record speed for a power boat is 219 kilometers per hour.
Mm-hmm.
How many more kilometers per hour
Excuse
is
me,
the
kilometers.
record?
Sorry. There we go. Continue.
How many more kilometers per hour is the record auto speed than the record power boat speed?
That's right. That was very well read there, Brittany. Okay. Brittany, basically, this is a word problem. What we're going to do is transfer this from English to mathematics. Okay, it's just translation. All right?
Okay.
Okay. What do we know already? We know that the car speed is what?
The car's speed is 1,001 kilometers per hour.
Okay, so we're going to put that down there. The car speed is 1,001 kilometers
Per hour.
per hour. And we know that the boat speed is
219 kilometers per hour.
219 kilometers per hour, correct?
Yeah.
All right then. So basically what we need to do is find out how much faster is the car compared to the boat. Okay?
Yeah.
Do you see what we might want to do to figure that out?
You might want to subtract.
You might want to subtract. In fact, and that's exactly what we're going to do right now. Okay, let's do this with me, all right?
Okay.
Okay, I have to borrow, don't I?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to borrow from here. I got 9. What do I have? 11 minus 9 is?
Oh, 11 minus 9 is, 2.
2. 9 minus 1 is?
8.
Okay, and I had to borrow from this also. So there's 9 minus 2 is?
9 minus 2 is 8. 7.
7. So
Sorry.
the difference that you're going to have is what?
782 kilometers per hour?
That's right. That's exactly how it is. Now, we could stop here and say, yeah, we're done. We got an answer. But is that smart to do?
Oh, talking to
Is
me?
that a good thing to do? Is that a good idea to do? Just to say, yeah, we got the answer. We're done.
No.
No, what's the best thing to do?
You
Always.
should put it in a sentence.
You should always, well, you can put it in a sentence, or actually what you should always do is check your answer.
Yeah.
Make sure, okay? So let's check the answer here. Okay, we got 782 kilometers per hour is what we think the answer is correct, right?
Yes.
Best way to do that is we take this value and add the boat speed and see if it adds up to the car speed.
Okay.
Okay, so let's take 782 And what was the boat speed?
219
219. We put the 2 thing. 2 plus 9.
is 11.
Okay, bring that
Carry
one.
the 1.
Okay, what's that going to be?
10.
10.
Carry the 1.
Carry the 1.
And 7 plus 7 is 14. 14 plus 1 is 15.
Yo. 7 plus 1.
7
2?
plus 1 is 8.
I'm sorry. And that's a 2 there. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's a 2, okay.
Yes. Typical of my handwriting, I
that's
know.
10.
Don't be surprised. Everybody says, what the heck is that? All right, so that's what now?
10.
10. So,
Right.
is that 1,001?
Yes.
Is that equal to the car speed?
Yeah.
Does this check out?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Okay, let's move on to the next one, Brittany. All ready? Here we go. Now, once again, give me that drama, give me that action, give me everything for this word problem, please.
Okay. Light travels about 300,000 kilometers per second.
Uh-huh.
If it takes 311 seconds for the light from the sunspot flare up to travel to the Earth and be seen, about how far is it from the Earth to the sun?
Okay, or from the sun to the earth. Either way, it doesn't really make any difference. All right, then. The main thing is what we're doing is we've got a problem that says distance is equal to rate times time. Okay? We're trying to figure out the distance, okay?
Yeah.
We do know that the rate in this problem, how fast does light travel?
300,000 kilometers per second.
300,000 kilometers per second, right?
Yes.
And we know the time that it took to travel is
311
311,
kilometers.
or actually 311 seconds.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Okay, here we go. All right, then. All we have to do is multiply this number by this number.
Yep.
You're probably going, huh?
No, I know.
Oh, no, you're not? Okay, there's a lot of people out there. Usually people in my family are going, huh? Okay, but anyway, here we go. What do we do?
You times 300,000 by 311.
Okay, we can do that, but then we got all these zeros and mess like that.
Yeah, so you might want to just 311 times 3.
Yeah, we'll do that. 311 times
Times
3.
3.
Okay, and that gives us what?
933.
933. And then what we'll do, well, how many zeros do we have after the 3 to begin with?
4.
4 zeros? No, 1, 2,
Oh, 5
3,
of them.
4, 5. So we have 5 more zeros, okay? So all we'll do is just take these 5 zeros right here and then add them down here.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. 4 and 5. Okay. So how far is that?
933.
You want to check it again? Let's see. Let's start from the best way to figure this out. Moving from this end, we're going to work our way back, and after every 3, we're going to put a comma. Okay.
Okay.
Count with me. 1.
1, 2, 3, comma. 1, 2, 3, comma.
Okay. What we got?
93,300,000. That's it.
Is that seconds? No, actually, we're just trying to figure out kilometers.
I think I read it wrong. Okay.
That's
let me
okay.
try it again. 93,300,000 kilometers per second.
Don't even have to say seconds anymore because we figured, because the seconds are not using them. All we're worrying about is distance. Okay? And that's how far it is.
Okay.
Okay? The way we can check this answer is like we'll take this and then divide it by 311. And you should get, if you divide this, you should get 300,000.
Okay.
Take 900. See, the same way, when we multiply, to check it would be, you just divide it by 311. That should give you 3.
Oh, okay.
Okay? All right? Thank you so much, Brittany. You've been a great help. I want you to enjoy the rest of your day. In fact, you're so sharp, I think you deserve a round of applause.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, please.
Have a nice day. Bye.
It's stuck. Okay. All right, then. You bye-bye now. Take care now. Okay, now I understand I have another caller on the line. Hello, is the caller there?
Yeah,
Yeah? Let's see. Okay,
I'm
fine.
here.
Hello, and what is your name?
my name is Cindy.
Cindy, and where do you go to school?
Manual Arts High School.
Manual Arts High School. Okay. So I'm sure you're familiar with the algebra, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. We're going to deal with some inequality problems. You remember those?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, fine. Here's something I was just kicking back talking about it just yesterday, I'm sure. Here we go. We're going to work out these problems. See this problem right here?
Yeah.
Okay, could you please read it out there for everybody?
Solve and check, right? A plus 4 is less than 13.
8 plus 4 is less than 13. In the solving of an inequality problem, Cindy, how do we do it?
We subtract 4 from both sides.
Yeah, so basically it's like the same way you would do it if it said equal there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now instead of that, let's just do the same thing. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. Okay, I subtract it from this side and that side. These two eliminate each other. This gives me 13 minus 4 is
9.
9. So now we're saying A is less than 9. Okay. Are we confident that this is the right answer?
Yes.
You're confident. Well, you are, but I'm not because that's the way I am.
Okay.
What might I do to make sure that I got the right answer?
You can put the 9.
Okay.
Basically.
What we need to do, first of all, to check it is to see, we need to find a number that is less than 9 to satisfy this, right? So anything less than 9. So what's the number that you think of that's less than 9?
8.
Okay, let's plug that in. Let's say A is equal to 8. Is 8 less than 9?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Now, let's try another number. Let's say that's outside of our range here. Let's say a number that might not be in there. What number wouldn't be there?
12.
Try 12, okay. Let's put 12 in there for A. Is 12 less than 9?
Yeah. No.
No, it is not. So that would not satisfy. This one would satisfy, okay? Would 9 satisfy this situation?
No.
No, why?
Because it will be equal.
They would be equal. 9 cannot be less than 9, right? Okay, very good. So move on down to the next one here. Here is another problem that's written in the sentence, and go for it.
A number decreased by 17 is less than 13.
Less than 13 or
Negative 13.
negative 13. So how would I write that in mathematics?
You put
Let's
x
X,
minus 17
17,
is
less than
negative 13.
negative 13. Could you do me a favor, Cindy? There's a lot of conversation going on in here. Could you, like, eat the receiver so I can hear you a little bit better? You remember, I'm very deaf.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
All righty, here we go. All right, then. Now we got this. What's the next step we do?
You add 17 to both sides.
Okay, I'm going to add 17 to both sides. Here we go. Okay, I add 17 to this side. Okay, these eliminate each other. That gives me an x, and then this is going to give me,
4.
yeah, less than positive 4. Okay, now, how do we check this answer?
You can put any number less than 4.
Okay, any number less than 4. Give me a number that's less than 4.
3.
Okay, let's try 3. Is 3 less than 4?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Now, give me another one that wouldn't be in this range.
5.
Okay, let's try it. Is 5 less than 4?
No.
No, it is not. Okay, so these right here, this satisfies this situation here. But what's another number that could not satisfy this? Could 4 satisfy this?
No.
No, because then again,
They
it
would
would
be
also
equal.
be equal. All right, then. Moving right along to the last one that I have here on the board.
Yeah.
Okay, can you see it?
Yeah. Twice a number added to 8 is greater than 3 times the number.
Okay, that's all fair and good. How would we write that out as a mathematical equation?
That's 2x plus
Okay.
8
2x plus 8.
is greater than
Uh-huh.
3x.
3x. Okay. Let's try that puppy out, see what we can do. Okay, well, how do we solve for this one?
Okay, now you subtract 2x from both sides.
2x from both sides. From this side and from this side. Let me move myself out of the way so people can see the problem maybe. Here we go. These eliminate each other. This right here gives me what? X, right?
Yeah.
And, but now it says 8 is greater than x, or x is less than
8.
8. Okay. Let's figure this puppy out here, shall we?
Yeah.
All right then. What do I need to satisfy this thing?
You need a number less than 8.
Number less than 8. Let's try that and let's plug it into the original equation, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to move this over so people can see it a little bit better. Okay, so I got 2x plus 8 is greater than 3x, right? Okay. Now, I'm going to rewrite it, but just use parentheses now. 2 times whatever plus 8 is greater than 3 times whatever, okay?
Okay.
Okay, let's put in 7, all right? I put in 7. I put in 7, all right?
Okay.
2 times 7 is what?
14
14, plus 8 more?
is 22.
22, okay? 22. And 3 times 7 is what?
21.
21. Is 22 greater than 21?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Okay, let's try a number that wouldn't work. What do you say?
Okay. 9.
Okay, let's put in 9. Here we go. So we got 2 times 9 plus 8 is greater than 3 times 9. Okay, let's plug it in. 2 times 9
18.
plus 8 more,
26.
26. And 3 times 9,
27.
27. Is 26 greater than 27?
No, it's not.
No, it is not. So this would not check out.
No.
Cindy,
Yeah.
you've been an absolute delight and a great help, and I think you too deserve a round of applause. Thank you.
Thanks.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
Okay, you take care. You enjoy the rest of your evening.
Okay. You too.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye.
Okay, that's all of my time today, but stay tuned now for 15 more minutes of math with Wilfred. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gross. There is a call on the line. Hello.
Hi,
And what is your name, please?
Turk.
Now, Turk, what grade are you in?
8.
In the 8th grade. And which school do you attend?
Goddard Middle School.
Okay, all right. Now, you're in an algebra class?
Yeah.
And so now you're factoring polynomials. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. Now, your problem is written on the board. Can you see your problem, Turk?
Yeah.
All right. Would you read that for us, please?
X, parentheses, x squared minus 1, in parentheses, minus 2, new parentheses, x plus 1, in parentheses.
All right. Now, whenever you see the parentheses, you just simply say times, okay?
All right.
Because 2 times 3 may be written in this fashion. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So this is x times the quantity x squared minus 1 minus 2 times the quantity x plus 1. Got it?
Yes.
All right. So this represents multiplication. And what we want to do is to factor this expression completely. Now, what would you do first, Turk?
I make plus and minus.
Okay.
Factor the x squared minus 1.
All right. So you'd factor the difference of squares, the x squared minus 1, right?
Yes.
All right. Let us do that. So we get x times, and what should we write inside the parentheses again?
A plus and a minus.
A plus and a minus. And then,
An x,
okay, so we have x's
and then 1.
and 1's. Because, of course, x is the square root of x squared, and 1 is the square root of 1, right?
Yes.
Okay, so far so good. Let us keep the rest of the expression, okay?
All right.
So now we still have now, so this is now x times the quantity x plus 1 times the quantity x minus 1 minus 2 times the quantity x plus 1.
Yeah.
All right, so now we have factored. What would your next step be now, Turk?
To put them in brackets.
All right, so you would factor out the common factor, right?
Yeah.
And what is the common factor?
X plus 1.
X plus 1. So let's factor out that x plus 1. Now, from this first term, what do we have left?
X minus 2.
No, from this.
Oh, x and x minus 1.
Right, so it's x times x minus 1, right?
Yeah.
Do you see how we read that?
Yeah.
All right, now from the second term, what do you have? What's the factor?
Minus 2.
Minus 2, okay. Now, so that's what we have now. So now we have x plus 1 times the quantity, the product of x and x minus 1 minus 2, right?
Yeah.
Now, at this point, you're tempted to believe that you're done, right? Because there are no other common factors as far as you can see, right?
Yeah.
But here's what you need to do. Let us expand this second expression, the second factor, and then see if, in fact, it can be factored, okay?
Okay.
All right, so we're going to keep the x plus 1, and now we're going to multiply out using the distributive axiom. So x times x gives us?
X squared
All right. And x times the negative 1?
is negative x.
Negative x. And we still have that minus 2, right?
Yes.
So now we have this polynomial, x squared minus x minus 2. And the question is, can that be factored, okay?
Okay.
And I believe it can be, okay?
Okay.
So let's write the x plus 1 again. That's that one. Now we're going to factor x squared minus x minus 2. And
Okay.
There are our two sets of parentheses. Okay, so what would you do to this polynomial, Turk?
Plus minus
Plus and minus?
or minus plus.
Okay, so all right, so you're going to have a plus and minus. Okay. Why did you decide on the plus and the minus?
Because the plus and the minus of the two symbols.
Right, because of the negative 2, right?
Yeah.
And so you must multiply a positive times a negative to get a negative, right?
Yes.
All right, so far so good. Now we need factors of x squared.
Okay.
And what is that?
X and X.
X and x, okay, very good. Now we need factors of 2.
1 and 2.
1 and 2. Now you have to make a decision as to whether we're going to put the 2 there, the 1, or the 2 and the 1. What do you think it should be?
The 2 on the negative.
Okay, let's put the 2 on the negative and the 1 with the positive because that middle term is negative, right?
Yeah.
So the greater factor must be negative.
Yeah.
You did very well. Now let's quickly multiply out. X times x,
X squared.
x times negative 2.
2 negative 2x.
All right, and then 1 times x.
X.
Right, so now we have a negative 2x plus x, and that combines to give us negative x. Do you see?
Yeah.
All right, and finally, positive 1 times a negative 2 is a negative 2, right?
Yes.
Now, we have factored that. And can we write this in a simpler fashion?
Yeah.
And what may we write?
X plus 1
X plus 1, that quantity,
squared.
squared. Very good, because we have 2 factors of x plus 1, right?
Yeah.
Times
X plus 2. X minus 2.
x minus 2. And now that is the complete factorization for the original x times the quantity x squared minus 1 minus 2 times the quantity x plus 1. Right, sir?
Yes.
You did fantastic, and thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause for you. And please call us again.
Okay, thanks.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. And again, the decision you have to make in an algebra class is when to stop. And it seems like it would be quite natural to stop at this step because now we have a factor of x plus 1. We have a factor, it seems, of x minus 1, but it's just not right. The final answer, again, is x, the quantity x plus 1 squared times x minus 2. All right, my second problem comes from Claire, yes, who's a 12th grade student at Fontana, and she's trying to find the integral of this expression, the quantity 1 plus x squared over x to the 1/2, and by coincidence, it's the same that we just had with Turk. All right, now, we want to integrate this expression. Now, we're going to use the following rule. The integral of x to the n dx is equal to x to the n plus 1 divided by n plus 1. Plus, of course, a constant as you wish. All right, so we're going to use that property in order to simplify this expression. Now, as we look at this, of course, we realize that the x to the 1/2 means the square root of x. And if we try to substitute u for x or x to the 1/2, it becomes more complicated. So let us expand that 1 plus x squared and see what happens. So this becomes the integral of the numerator, which is, of course, 1 plus x squared, which is 1 plus 2x plus x squared. And this is quite readily true because this is, of course, the square of a binomial. The denominator is still x to the 1/2. We want to find the integral of that with respect to x. Now, it still looks somewhat complicated, but what if we were to write it as a sum of fractions? That is, we have 1 over x to the 1/2 plus 2x over x to the 1/2 plus x squared over x to the 1/2, and we find the integral of that dx. Now, let's write this in a simpler fashion without the denominator. This is simply x to the negative 1/2, the reciprocal. Now, remember that what we're doing is to subtract the exponent. Now, this is x to the first minus x to, and then we're going to subtract 1/2 from 1, so we get plus 2 times x to the 1/2. Again, x to the first, x to the 1/2, we subtract 1 minus 1/2, we get 1/2. In this case, now we have 2 minus 1/2. that would be like 1 1/2, or as we would write it, x to the 3/2. And now we are ready to integrate. Now, remember the rule once again. And let us look again. The integral of a power is simply add 1 and divide by the resulting power. Okay, let's see if we can do that. We have x to the negative 1/2. Now we want to add 1 to that, so 1/2 plus 1 is 1. Negative 1/2 plus 1 is simply 1/2. Now we must now divide by 1/2. But to divide by a fraction means to multiply by the reciprocal. So instead of writing divided by 1/2, what we're going to do is to write it as 2 over 1. So it is the same as multiplying by 2. Again, dividing by 1/2 is equivalent to multiplying by 2. Let's try it again. Now, again, we're going to add 1 to 1/2, and that now becomes 3/2. So what we have is then 2 times the reciprocal of 3/2, which would of course be 2/3. And again, remember that was x to the 3/2. Let's do it one more time. Add in 1, this becomes 5/2, so that becomes 2/5 x to the 5/2. Okay, now, of course, we can add that constant of integration. So let us just simplify this. This is simply 2, and if you wanted to write that in a radical, of course, you may write the square root of x. 2 times 2 is 4, so we can write 4x to the 3/2, and I'm going to leave it with that fractional exponent. And this is over 3 plus 2x to the 5/2 over 5 plus c. And now we have integrated our expression. Okay. All right. The next problem is a geometry problem, and it's a rather involved problem, and I'm not sure if we're going to have enough time to finish it. I'd like to start this problem because it was a very interesting problem. Let's read it. It says, in the right triangle ABC, angle C is a right angle. P, Q, and R are points which divide segment AB into 4 equal parts. S and T are midpoints of segment BC and AC respectively. If the measure of segment AB is 24, find the perimeter of PRST. Let's see if we can at least draw the picture and then leave it like that. Now, we have a right triangle. So this is a right triangle. This is our right angle. And it says that the right angle is C. So this is point C. And so we can have A, B, C. This is our right triangle. It says that P, Q, and R divides AB into 4 equal parts. So we can divide into 4 equal parts. So this is now P, Q, R. Now, it says that S and T are the midpoints of BC. So this is the midpoint of BC, that is point S. And of course, the midpoint of AC is point T. And what we want to do is to find the perimeter of PRST. So we want to find the perimeter of this quadrilateral. PRST. Now remember that we're given that segment AB measures 24. Now I see that I'm running out of time, so we'll have to complete this another day. Now these parts would each be 6s, divided by 4. And so as you can see, this side is, of course, 12. Now what you need to do to complete this problem is to call each of these parts x's, and let's call these parts y, and then recognize that you have a right triangle. Now you do observe that x squared plus y squared is equal to the measure of ts squared. And I will have to complete this problem next week because it's a very interesting problem and I really want to do that. My time is up, but don't go away because coming up next is 30 minutes of English. Stay tuned. Have a good day.
Do it anyway. You should probably go first.
No, you go first.
Okay. Hi, welcome to the second half of Homework Hotline. I'm
really
Angela.
good half.
Yeah, the better half.
The better half.
I'm Angela Hewlett-Block.
And I'm Charles Fogarty.
And we have some exciting English to do. I'm going to talk about Huckleberry Finn. Going to work with a young lady named Lumi. Talk a bit about maybe some very interesting things. I don't want to give it all away.
Yeah. And I don't know yet what I'm going to do. We'll see. It's a
Well, we
surprise
would
for our
like him
director.
to talk about the Romanticism and the Enlightenment and
And
create a
maybe
nice
I'll do-
segue between our segments.
And maybe I'll do the topic sentence.
Okay. I have a caller. Lumi, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Lumi and I just met by phone this afternoon. She called with a question about what? What are you working on?
Well, the characterization of each of the character in the book Huckleberry Finn.
Okay, in Huckleberry Finn. And what school do you go to?
Los Amigos High School.
Great. And you're in the, what grade?
11th grade.
11th grade. All right. Let's just take a second and talk about the first assignment you had and what we talked about originally. What was the assignment the teacher gave you? Let's start there.
Oh, just discuss
Remember that whole list of things we went through together?
Oh yeah, the social truth.
Okay, social truths that you found or that were stated directly or indirectly in the novel, correct?
Yes.
And what kinds of things did you come up with? Let's talk about those because these are also good ideas that students can use for essay topics. Give them other things to think about because 11th graders, I assure you, across the city are reading Huckleberry Finn. So let's talk about some of those.
Okay.
Give me one or two, and we'll take a second or
Okay,
two.
like smoking.
Okay, and what about smoking? Who was the smoker in the story?
Huck and Tom.
And Tom. And were you supposed to find something that had some significance today?
Yes, like how adults back then didn't want little kids to smoke.
Okay.
And the same are still happening today.
Okay. Give me another example of one of the social truths that you pointed out in the story.
Like child abuse.
Okay, child abuse. And this is a very serious item in the novel. Who is abused in this story?
Oh, Huck is abused by his father, who is an alcoholism.
Okay, by his father. And interestingly enough, as much as Huck wanted to be free and on his own, he would have been willing to stay with his dad if it was not for the beatings, correct?
Yes.
And that was a little too severe for him, and he left and carried on, fortunately. But Huck is quite an interesting character, and we're going to talk a bit about him. I have a few questions for you. Let's move over here, Lumi, and I want you to fill in a couple of things on the board, okay? What kind of work is this? If we talk about genre, what type of genre do we call this? I already said it. As opposed to a short story or a poem, it's a?
Short story. It's like a novel.
It's a novel,
Yeah.
good. And the author is?
Mark Twain.
He has another name. What is it?
I know this.
Yeah, you do. Starts with an S. A.M. Samuel Clemens, right, which he also used. What type of plot is this? And I'll give you a hint to start. Is it a funny story? Is it a sad story?
Well, some part is funny. It has
Okay, so
some
for the
humorous
most part it is funny. It's humorous. And Mark Twain uses a technique in this novel to point out some of the vices and follies and foibles in man, and he pokes fun at it or ridicules some of these things in our lives or in human nature. Do you know what that is called, that literary device is, where we poke fun at or ridicule things? I'm going to start writing it for you. See if you can.
Oh, satire.
Satire. Okay, this is a humorous satire. He really ridicules, and it's not always funny. Remember, satire doesn't always make you chuckle. Sometimes it makes you stand back. He makes some serious statements about institutionalized religion, Southern Romanticism, but if we have time, we'll get to that, okay? Let's move down here. And what is the time of the plot? When is this taking place? Approximately. You can give me the century.
18,
Okay, so that would be which century?
the 19th century.
Okay, the 19th century, and talk nice and loud for me. Where is this taking place?
Down the Mississippi River.
Okay, Mississippi. Mississippi River. Okay, and the Mississippi River itself serves as an interesting structural device and symbol in the story. A lot going on here. And then, you have any idea when it was first published?
1890 something.
Okay, close, 1884. All right, so we have a story with themes and ideas that are very significant today, particularly in the character of Huck and his relationship with Jim. And one of the other teachers pointed out to me that in light of celebrating or our recognizing Martin Luther King's life this past Monday, this story has some interesting points to make that relate to that. We'll hopefully point those out. Let me take a second to talk about characterization and what writers do to develop characters. And they use this device, and it's quite a skill that they use to try to bring out these characters, make them jump off the page, turn them into people that seem realistic, and that leave us thinking about the kinds of things that go on there. Maybe you can read this first one for me. So one way an author will develop a character is by what?
What they say.
What they say, what the character says. And this is something we do all the time, just in everyday life. When we meet someone we've never met before, we oftentimes listen to what they say. We make judgments about people that way. And we learn about characters through the types of things that they say, through the type of language that they use. What's another way?
What they do.
What they do. Okay? We look at actions. We watch what people do all the time. And through actions, we kind of judge the people you might want to get next to, you might want to stay far away from. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And then we get to know people and obviously learn more about them. What's another thing? Another way we learn about characters.
What others say.
What others say. And we listen to other characters, interact with other characters. We get direct information from other characters. So we have several ways that we learn about these characters in the story. And then oftentimes we might have some direct influence from the writer.
What the author says.
Yes, and the author may step in as this omniscient. What is an omniscient point of view or an omniscient speaker? You know that term. As in point of view. Okay, when we have an omniscient point of view, it's almost as if we have someone watching everything that's going on, and this person or entity has the ability to know what the characters are thinking, and sometimes it takes on a different angle, but for the most part, it's as if, you know, the camera is looking down on the scene and we know everything that's going on. But the author may directly speak to us and give us point blank, very clear descriptions of a character. Okay, and we get that in many stories. So maybe we'll take a few minutes and we'll talk about Huck Finn. Let's talk about the development of that character and see if there's anything that changed in him, what kinds of things stayed the same, and look at some of the things that really draw us into the character of Huckleberry Finn. So what I need you to do for me, Luma, is tell me 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 things about Huck Finn at the beginning, whether it's something he does, things about his character, his personality that you think are important. Can you give me one thing about him that you think is special or stands out? Anything.
Adventurous, maybe?
He's adventurous, good. Okay, something else. What about his attitude towards some of the rules and regulations in his society there? Does he follow all the rules?
No.
Okay, and maybe he's a little rebellious?
Rebellious, yeah.
Okay, what else can you tell me? Give me one more thing about him. One more. What kinds of things does he like? And not things like smoking, but just as far as what he wants to do every day. What does he like? What's really in him that's very important? I'm going to start. A desire for what? Maybe.
Freedom.
Okay. Okay, oftentimes in these short lives of these characters, when we visit with them, there are events that they are involved in that cause them to change or that cause them to become more firm in their convictions. Can you think of any events in Huck's life that taught him something maybe or caused him to look at his life or his world a little bit differently?
Probably after he stayed with the Grangerford family.
Okay. Okay, the Grangerfords. Let's take a second and talk about who these people were. Can you tell us a little bit about why this is significant?
Well, these people are like the people that Huck stays with for like a couple of days.
Okay.
And here,
Does he become especially friendly with anyone in the
he
family?
became a good friend with one of the members of the family named Buck.
Okay, Buck.
But then Buck got killed because of family feuding.
All right, and this is another thing that Twain really speaks out against. This romantic idea of this ongoing feud and this code of honor and this revenge. But as a result, like you said, we lose someone, a young person in the feud between the Grangerfords and what's the name of the other family?
Shepardson.
Shepherdsons, good. Is there any other event or any other person that is very influential maybe in his life?
Probably this meeting with the Duke and the King.
Okay, the Duke and the King. Boy, what did that wake him up to? Were they really a Duke and a King?
No, they were fought.
No, okay. What did these two guys do?
They
Go ahead.
They tried to
Go ahead and say it. They were what?
They were fought.
Okay, they were thieves, Thieves. I got to get that IE correct. They were thieves. Didn't they just steal money as easily as they possibly could?
Yes.
And he learned that he didn't like the way they did things. I mean, he did his own share of lying and conniving when he had to. I want to put one other person up here that was very influential. I'll put the first letter.
Jim.
Jim. Why is Jim such a significant character in the novel? What's his nationality?
He's a black man.
Okay, and what's his situation?
He's a slave.
He's a slave. And Tom has to decide at some point, he has to make a decision that he's going to do what?
Either turn Jim in because Jim is a runaway slave.
Okay.
But then Jim is like a close friend to Huck. So
Okay.
he doesn't know what should he do. What is the
Right.
right thing to do?
And he's been taught at home by the widow in church that the wrong thing to do would be to help someone like Jim, correct? But isn't it ironic that the right thing that he does is what he was taught not to do? The best, probably one of the best decisions he makes, right, in the entire novel. Okay, I'm out of time. You know why I know? Because all the cameras are moving to the other side, and Charles is waving at me. My time is up. Luma, thank you so much for working with me. You deserve an applause. You're a great student. And I will sign off and on to Charles.
Hi, Angela, that was great. As a matter of fact, I wasn't waving at you. I was telling them to let you go on.
I was kidding.
Because this is good. I would like to continue one little thing. I know our caller's off the air now. But if she's still watching, the amazing thing for me, when I read this book, I was 17 years old. I didn't study it in school. But when we got to the climax, when I was reading it quietly, it jumped off the page because, as Angela said, when he does the right thing for what he thought was the wrong reason.
I had it in my notes, but I didn't get to it.
What he had done, he had written a letter telling Miss Watson where she could find Jim. And then he remembered all the things that Jim had done for him and how much the only person who ever showed him any real love was this slave.
Yes.
And he realized this is absolutely wrong. He tears up the letter, throws it in the river, and he says, okay, or not okay, he didn't say okay, he says, all right, I'll go to hell. That's an amazing thing.
And it's one of the few times that my students have finally said yes and jumped in there with a character and felt some connection. One of the few times.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful.
It's an amazing,
Thank
amazing
you.
thing.
Okay.
Well, anyway, my stuff is a little dry, I suppose, but it does connect. It does connect in a way. I'd like to talk about a paragraph and how you write a paragraph. But the paragraph that you're going to see on your screen in a moment is an excerpt from a speech by Martin Luther King. And the point grammatically is how he puts his topic sentence at the beginning of the paragraph. Now, if I could have it on the screen for you guys. If you have a color TV, you can see that the topic sentence is in red. And I notice I have a little typo in it, but I'll point it out when I get to it. Violence as a way of achieving racial justice is both impractical and immoral. So there you have this very concise sentence saying exactly what the paragraph's going to be about. And what it's going to be about is how violence is impractical and immoral as a way of achieving racial justice. It is impractical. Dr. King first gives us an impractical part of it. It is impractical because it is a descending spiral ending in destruction for all. You know, there's a lot I can teach you on how to write from this one little paragraph. Because if you look at it, the first thing is how it's impractical. But then the imagery he uses, a descending spiral. Now that, my math colleagues will be happy to point out, is from geometry. A spiral is a geometric thing. And it ends in destruction for all. The old law of an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. And this is actually what was going on with the Grangerfords and the Shepherdsons in the feud in Huck Finn, because that was this idea of an eye for an eye, strict justice. And it's true, there would have been, you know, if you kill a friend of mine and I go out to kill a friend of yours, okay, fine, we have strict justice, but what we have are two dead people. And in the meantime, you're going to want to kill me because I killed your friend. Where does it get us? Nowhere. But anyway, then he goes on and he says why it's immoral. It is immoral because it seeks to humiliate the opponent rather than win his understanding. It seeks to annihilate rather than to convert. This construction, by the way, is called parallelism. And Dr. King was a master of the English language. And here you have an example. It's parallelism because it seeks to annihilate it seeks to humiliate the opponent rather than win his understanding, and annihilate rather than convert, to change one's mind. Violence is immoral because it thrives on hatred rather than love. And if you read Huckleberry Finn, you realize that one of the problems with the feud was that there were two lovers involved. It was kind of like Romeo and Juliet. There were one young lady from one family and a gentleman from another family fell in love, and they were eloping. And that's how Buck got killed in the battle between the two families after the elopement. And here you have it again. But we go from a novel, a work of fiction, to what we see in our city streets of LA. Violence is immoral because it thrives on hatred rather than love. It destroys community and makes brotherhood impossible. I mean, I've got a family, I've got sisters, and sometimes I fight with them, but, our sense of brotherhood or sisterhood or familyhood, that is there. And so, we stop our fighting so we can be family. And if we're all part of the human family, the violence has to stop because brotherhood is impossible if we hate. Okay, going on. Pardon my preaching. It leaves society in monologue rather than dialogue. I kind of wish I had somebody to talk to on the phone today. I didn't get a call. But this is it. Monologue. What's a monologue? A monologue is what I'm doing right now. Yakety, 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 yakety. And if there's any response out there to my monologue, making it a dialogue, I don't know. And that's what violence does, as Dr. King would say. Violence is itself a monologue. It's just, rah, 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 And the person you're being violent to, like Huck and his father, what could he do? All he could do was run away. He couldn't reason with his father. Okay, where are we? Violence ends by defeating itself. It creates bitterness in the survivors and brutality in the destroyers. And I can't go on from there. That's exactly, that says it all. A voice echoes through time, saying to every potential Peter, put up your sword. Now this is a reference to Scripture, where when Jesus was being betrayed, his disciple Peter took his sword and whacked off one of the guard's ears, and Jesus said, he who lives by the sword will die by the sword. And this is what Dr. King was saying. Remember, Dr. King was a minister. He says, a voice echoes through time saying to every potential Peter, put up your sword, because if you use a sword, you'll die by the sword. History is cluttered, and there should be a "the" there. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. History is cluttered with the wreckage of nations that fail to follow this command. And there you have how this wonderful paragraph says exactly what the topic sentence said. Violence is a way of achieving racial justice, is both impractical and immoral. Okay, I have about 4 minutes, and the next topic is a little less wonderful, maybe. Let's see if I can get this right. The topic sentence is in the middle, and some of my colleagues who teach science would be very happy to see this one, because this is about insects, okay? Now, I don't think I can get as excited over insects as I can Martin Luther King, but here we go anyway. Also, there's a lot I can teach from this paragraph, too, because there are all sorts of references to mythology and all of that. But here we go. Recently, while fishing in a clear stream, now this is with the topic sentence in the middle of the paragraph. Recently, while fishing in a clear stream, I picked a rough twig out of the water. Growing out of the twig were the tightly furled petals of some strange yellow bud. In seconds, this bud had blossomed into a pale golden fly with a long, gracefully tapered body and upright wings like sails. As I watched, the wings dried, became taut and fit, and the insect took flight, mounting high over the stream until it disappeared. And here in red is your topic sentence in the middle of the paragraph. Surely there are few stranger creatures in nature than this little mayfly of the order Ephemeroptera. I hope that's how you pronounce it. And there you go. That's the topic sentence, how it all led up to that. Okay? And then, of course, it will go on to develop the idea further. The Greeks named it flower of the river, and the names given to it by trout fishers are no less poetic: golden drake and pale evening sun. Now, if you think about how this paragraph was arranged, It begins rather poetically, describing the slow unfurling of this bud into an insect. He thought it was a plant, but it was an insect. And it goes on. The insect spends all but the last few days of its life on the stream bottom, where as a nymph, it undergoes as many as 20 metamorphoses. That's a change. That's a rather fancy word. It means changes. Then, in response to some mysterious rhythm of nature, it struggles to the surface, breaks open the nymphal case, and emerges as a winged fly. It is from this instant draining the precious stock of life stored up on the stream bottom. For its mouth has stopped working and it cannot feed again. The insect now has only one function: to mate, to drop eggs into the stream, and then to die. Okay? Makes you glad you're not an insect, isn't it? I mean, we can eat and still drop our eggs. But anyway, I'm running out of time. I only have about a minute left. So I would like to end with showing you one last example of topic sentences. We have a topic sentence at the end. And this deals with a very grim period of history. The 14th century opened with a series of famines brought on when population growth outstripped the techniques of food production. The precarious balance was tipped by a series of heavy rains and floods, by a chilling of the climate in what has been called the Little Ice Age. Upon a people thus weakened fell the century's central disaster, the Black Death, which I will cover in 30 seconds. An eruption of bubonic plague which swept the known world in the years 1347 to 1349 and carried off an estimated 1/3 of the population in 2.5 years. And here comes the subject, the topic sentence. This makes it the most lethal episode known to history, which is of some interest to an age equipped with the tools of overkill. In other words, us with atomic weapons. I'm out of time. I'm sorry we couldn't go on and further, but I'll see you next week. Now remember, if you need help, call 1-800-527-8839 or just plain old 1-800-LA-STUDY. Have a great weekend. See ya.